People just take photos. You can see people of all
Just like
genders walk up, take the picture of the bottom, and walk right off again.
Give me the toe, though. I want the toe. You can't stand like that if you're not feeling yourself.
No,
So this is my kind of art.
probably Narcissus's name, in fact.
Oh God, poor girl.
Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Gustin. I'm the curator of British art at National Museums Liverpool, and it is my absolute pleasure today to take Mimi Gold, multidisciplinary artist and all-around creative human, around our exhibition, National Treasures, Velasquez in Liverpool. We were one of 12 venues around the UK to get a painting from the National Gallery, and we got what I think is the best one, and we've created a whole exhibition around this painting. So should we go have a look?
Yes, please.
Great.
Thank you.
So this is the star of the show. This is Diego Velázquez's Rokeby Venus, so called because it was in a country house called Rokeby.
Okay.
Of course, we love to name paintings after rich white people.
Yeah.
It's one of the few Spanish nude paintings, and for years it has been held up as just the icon of the male gaze. Right, she's got this great, big, peachy, beautiful white bum right in the middle of the painting.
Smack bang,
Just literally smack bang in the middle of the painting. But she's also looking at herself in the mirror. So it's a painting that's not just about men looking at beautiful, idealized, peachy white bottoms, but it's also about the power of the woman looking at herself or looking back at us. But we decided to do a show not about white men looking at idealized white butts, but to instead think about how women and non-binary people and artists have looked at themselves, looked at other women, looked at other bodies in different ways as professional artists.
This Cupid?
Yeah, so Cupid, it's her son. He's kind of this mysterious figure. He's holding up the mirror for her. And one of the things that gets really exciting about this picture is the mirror doesn't work in real life. So if the mirror was painted as it was in real life, it would actually be showing us her genitals. But so he's tweaked it a bit so that you're really getting that gaze, that face.
Yeah.
So you get the sense that she has some kind of thought happening.
She's a real human woman with no body hair.
No body hair, no cellulite.
No, she's perfect.
She's absolutely perfect. She's very elongated, she's very sexy. You sort of get the sense that maybe she doesn't have a lot of bones, that she's so soft and so idealized that nobody really looks like this.
Yeah.
And people just take photos. You can see people of all
Just like
genders walk up, take the picture of the bottom, and walk right off again. This was a really great painting for us to have because we have so many works of art by women and non-binary artists in our collection. And we have so many that we could theme them around this question of the body and of gender and of the gaze. And so we were really lucky to pull together a selection of works that think about this in a different way, that de-center the male gaze and really think about the woman and non-binary artist. So why don't we go have a look at some of those and stop talking about men?
Okay, see you later, Venus.
Bye, Venus. So if we had Cupid in the last painting, here we have a sculpture of Puck with his little toes.
So cute.
The toes are the best. The toes are such a temptation for people. They were so cute and so touchable that the Princess of Wales in the 19th century actually said she was German, so apologize for the accent. Oh, Miss Hosmer, you have such a talent for toes.
Such a talent.
So Harriet Hosmer was an American sculptor who lived in Rome, and she was the leader of this group of women sculptors who went to Rome to be professional artists, almost all of whom were lesbians, and they lived really openly in these queer relationships. They called themselves married with other women. Their friends acknowledged the importance of their relationship. But this is her most famous early work, and she made sort of between 12 and 30, we're not really sure.
Wow.
But it illustrates Puck, the character from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. And the reason we've included this is even though it's not about the woman's body, it's about sort of the power of the woman to create an image. I love this statue because I think what she's doing is she's actually trying to sneak genitals into the Victorian parlor. So you have these really phallic mushrooms. You have these sort of exploding plants with sort of bits coming out of them, and they're very lush and sexual, and she absolutely would have known what she was doing. She loved to sneak these kinds of jokes in.
That's so good.
And she absolutely would have known that and done it on purpose. And you can tell that because they're not always this robust.
Yes.
Sometimes they're a bit more subtle.
Do we know why she's sculpted Puck specifically?
Because she had to make a living as a professional artist.
I hear you, girl.
She had to sell these.
Yeah.
She had to sell a lot of them. And so she designed it and then essentially pawned off the work to a bunch of men to actually do the hard work.
That's the
for
better
her.
way around.
Right.
Give me the toe though, I want the toe.
This is Ethel Walker's painting, The Spanish Gesture.
Yes.
Ethel Walker was a queer Scottish artist and one of the most famous artists of her generation. But she really, really loved painting
Spanish
beautiful women. Beautiful women. So this actually isn't a Spanish woman. This is a woman called Gwendolyn, who's a friend of hers from Robin Hood Bay in North Yorkshire.
Okay.
What Ethel would do is she would have her friends or her models come into her studio. She would have them take all of their makeup off because she thought it made women more beautiful to just showcase their natural beauty.
I hear that.
But so this one, she's dressed Gwendolyn in this sort of Spanish shawl and had her pose in sort of a flamenco gesture. But what we're really getting is we're getting that gaze, that look out from the model back out at us. And so you get that real sense of encounter and her sort of sexual or sensual power between women.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that eye contact.
Yes.
Suggestive sort of like the light touch of the neck and the hand on the hip. It's definitely giving like, hey, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
You know, you can't stand like that if you're not feeling yourself.
No, you really have to be.
Literally impossible.
Sort of, it's this idea of movement and sensual power by a woman, for a woman, not necessarily this male objectification. It's this exchange between the two of them. And she tended to paint her friends or her lovers as much as she painted sort of commissioned portraits. So you get that intimacy, that immediacy between the two of them.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we really wanted to do with this show is show how women artists have used all kinds of different mediums. And so we included these works by two women sculptors who are less well known, but really are looking at different ways of thinking about the body and how you present a woman's nude body. So on the left, we have Echo, which is this classical subject. She is a nymph who loses her voice as a punishment for teasing or mocking the queen of the gods. She falls in love with Narcissus, who is this beautiful young man who is only in love with himself, which is which is where narcissism comes from. And so she wastes away until only her voice is left, but all she can do is repeat or echo the last thing that she's heard said.
I feel that so heavily.
But then on the other side, we have this work by Dorothea Clement called The Pool, where a nude woman is sort of hiding her body from us or not necessarily letting us look at her the same way. She's hunched over, she's looking at her own reflection, but her face is sort of hidden by that hair. And so you don't get that same engagement. You don't get to be a voyeur as she's doing whatever it is she's doing.
Yeah, it's stunning. I didn't even get that it was hair at first. It felt sort of like just her melting into herself, as opposed to this one, which is like, I'm here. Look at me. This one's like, no, I mean, you can look if you want. Like, you literally have to go around to see her face or other details. Do you know what the last words were that echoed?
No, it was probably Narcissus's name, in fact.
Oh, God, poor girl.
You're a photographer. Why don't we go look at some photography?
Oh, yes, please.
Let's go that way.
Okay. I know who this is.
You know who this is.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we wanted to do with this show was not just show the white idealized artsy body, which, to be fair, dominates our collection. It dominates most collections.
It's going to be hard to find, to be fair.
It's going to be hard to find. We, as an organization, are trying really hard to be better about this. But one of the ways that we're doing that is by collecting contemporary art. And so this is one of our most recent acquisitions, and it was a real treat to include it. It's a photograph by Rei Madich, who is a non-binary photographer located in London. And their practice uses what look like snapshot photographs of their life, of the world around them, of their friends and their family, to create sort of these moments around modern life and comments on race and beauty. And so we were really keen to include this one, Chitty doing Rini's hair, because we felt that it was a real conversation with the idea of the toilet of Venus, which is the Rokeby Venus's like proper name. It's the beautification process. It's what feminine people do to make themselves beautiful or presentable to the outside world.
I definitely see what you're saying. I think it's beautiful to be able to see the beautification process happen in a different way. Usually with this, you would get a very soft brush of very long, straight hair. Whereas this I can relate to, this I'm familiar with, this I know, I do my hair. So I'm looking at this and like out of all of the art that I'm seeing, I'm like, yeah, big guns here, big guns girl, you know?
And one of the things that this work does really powerfully, I think, is it talks about the ways that non-binary people can exist within a spectrum, or they can express themselves in different ways. So earlier I said that these are two femme people. You know, they are engaging in something that is traditionally seen as feminine, but that doesn't necessarily imply that they are women.
Yeah. It also brings in some of the modern conversation, isn't it? A lot of what we're looking at is what's happened and who has existed, but these people are alive. they're here. I can message them and say I am Miss Lesbian.
So these are gorgeous, aren't they? These are really great for us to include in the show because they're by Nelly Maholi, who is a non-binary South African artist, photographer, sculptor. And they were really important for us to include because they talk about the fact that gender is not single, that it is something that is fluid, that can change throughout a person's life. And they're a series of photographs about Black beauty. And they're a comment on beauty pageants.
So this is my kind of art, particularly because they're playing with their idea of a woman. And it's something that I've always struggled with in my younger years, not so much now, but particularly body hair and body type. And a little bit my blackness, but more particularly because, I mean, look at this fuzz, babe. I refuse to remove it, and I think it makes me more womanly. And to be able to see that, like for example, all of the other works that we've seen, I haven't seen any body hair, and it's something I always look at when I'm presented with a female form or a feminine form. It's natural, so to see that and have this very feminine look, the American leotard and the crown and the heels, and then have pubic hair and leg hair poking out there, and there's probably armpit hair and arm hair. But that's validating for me. I remember in one of my lectures, he told us about an artist, couldn't tell you what his name is, who painted nude women, and when he finally got married and saw an actual nude woman, and she had body hair, he freaked out and had like a whole like crisis and like disappeared, I think, or something like that. So I'm looking for that and thinking, why was it a thing to not show body hair when we're doing a naked? Why can't we go as far as to throw in a curl?
Why don't we look at one more thing in which there's no body at all?
Oh, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, let's go that way. So last but certainly not least, we have this amazing etching from the National Gallery by Maggie Hamling, and we were super lucky. So in the context of the whole tour with all the different paintings that went out, we're the only venue that got 2 things out of the National Gallery. So we really wanted to include this because it is by a queer artist, Maggie Hamling, and she was the first artist in residence at the National Gallery. And so after they'd done 10 years of artist in residence, they brought them all back together and had a portfolio of prints made. And Maggie Hamling made hers called A Laugh with the Rokeby Venus. And so we really wanted to include it because it was hard to find work by queer women that was so clearly a direct response to the Rokeby Venus.
Yeah.
And we also really liked it because it's abstract. So it totally isn't looking at the body, but it's thinking about that artist's reaction to one of the most famous paintings in the country. And I just love it. I love the color, I love how playful it is, but I also love that it's still kind of sexy.
Yeah.
without necessarily being...
Definitely got some passionate colours and movement in there.
Without being just a full-on...
Naked body.
Naked body.
Yeah.
Right smack dab in the middle.
Abstract is something I've always struggled with. I often get told by some of my arty friends that like, you kind of just say things quite straight, don't you? And I'm like, well, yeah, surely you want to understand what I'm saying, but they prefer a more abstract way of interpreting things. I just want it to be smack, bang, bam, bang, bab, dab in the middle. Say what it is. I can't say what it is, but you know what I'm saying. So I wouldn't have made the relation to the Rokeby Venus if you hadn't have said that.
People love looking at things that look like things, right? We find it really easy to look at images of other people. That's what the eye is drawn to. That's what most people think of. But so it's really interesting to have this work that is, as you said, it's an emotional reaction. It's a bit more sort of creative. It's a bit more intuitive than, you know, a very finely painted body. That this is this really free moment of creation by Hamling in reaction to this painting that she knew very, very well. And so I thought it was really interesting and powerful to have it as a starting point and to really shake it up for the audience.
This almost sort of laughs at the people coming in. So I imagined people coming specifically to see this painting, and it's a very famous painting, and like you said, they've come in and see this, and it's almost like she's going, haha, no buts here, you know?
It really sort of summarizes what we were trying to do with the show, to think about the fact that there's no one way to look at the Rokeby Venus. There's no one way to be a woman artist or a non-binary artist, but that there's so many different ways, and that changes depending on when you're working, where you're working, who you're friends with, who you know, what you've seen.
Absolutely.
And so this was just a really exciting way for us to have that conversation and to get that conversation started throughout the entire exhibition.
Well, this is stunning, and I do think everything great starts with a laugh. But can we look at the butt again, please?
Yes, let's go look at the butt one more time.
Yes, butts.